He smiled as if it were nothing and said to the room, "This is Lena. She works for me. Helps around the house." Laughter followed. Cameras flashed. Glasses clinked. Lena stood beside him, her fingers tightening slowly, her face calm while something inside her collapsed. She swallowed the humiliation in silence. Then the CEO walked in. One sentence later, Ethan's blood would freeze, because the woman he had just mocked as his maid was about to walk onto that stage, and everything he believed about power, respect, and himself was about to shatter in front of everyone. Ethan sat at his desk, staring at the email glowing on his laptop like it was a golden ticket out of mediocrity. Harrington Group, annual black tie gala, invitation only. His heart raced. This was it. 3 years of late nights, fake smiles, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, pretending to belong in rooms that never truly welcomed him. It had finally paid off. An invitation to the Harrington Gala meant visibility, and in Ethan's world, being seen was everything. "Lena," he called out, his voice echoing through their small but spotless apartment. The scent of spiced rice drifted from the kitchen, gospel music playing softly in the background. She appeared moments later, drying her hands on a towel. "Yes?" she asked gently. He turned the laptop toward her, grinning. "Look, they invited me." Her eyes lit up with genuine happiness. "That's amazing. They're finally recognizing your work." He nodded, but corrected her quickly. "It means I'm being noticed by the right people." Lena stepped closer, admiring the elegant design of the invitation. "It looks expensive. You'll need a tux." "And you'll come with me," he added casually. "It's a couples event. Everyone brings their wives." She blinked, surprised but pleased. "Me?" "Of course." Then, almost as an afterthought, he added, "Just don't overdo it." Her face faded slightly. "Overdo it?" "You know how these corporate types are," he said, reaching for his coffee. "I don't want them thinking I don't belong." She understood the translation immediately. "Don't embarrass me." "All right," she said quietly. "Something simple." As she turned back toward the kitchen, Ethan's voice followed her. "Oh, and Lena, when we get there, just play along if I introduce you differently." She stopped walking. "Differently how?" He waved his hand dismissively. "Nothing serious. Maybe I'll say you help out at home, just for the night." She turned slowly. "You mean you'll tell people I'm your maid?" His face hardened. "Don't dramatize it. It's business etiquette. These people judge fast. You wouldn't understand." Her hands trembled, but her voice stayed calm. "I understand respect, Ethan, and pretending I'm your servant isn't respect." He sighed impatiently. "Can you not make this difficult? Just one night. I'm building a future for us." The room fell silent. Finally, Lena nodded. "If that's what you need." Relief washed over him. "That's my girl." That night, while Ethan slept peacefully beside her, dreaming of chandeliers and applause, Lena lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Once, he had loved her quiet strength. Now, it embarrassed him. "You'll see me one day," she whispered into the dark, "for who I really am." The week passed in a blur. Ethan bought a tux, practiced introductions in the mirror, researched executives. Lena ironed his clothes and watched silently. When she asked what she should wear, he barely looked up. "That beige dress from church, the long one, simple." She nodded. The night of the gala, Lena stood by the door in a cream dress that fit her perfectly, her curls pinned neatly, gold earrings catching the light. Ethan glanced at her. Not bad. Not beautiful, not stunning, just not bad. They drove in silence towards a world that wasn't built for honesty. The city lights glittered like a promise Ethan had been chasing for years. Tall glass towers reflected gold and white as luxury cars lined up outside the venue. Cameras flashed, valets opened doors, laughter spilled into the night air, smooth and effortless, like it belonged to people who had never worried about rent or respect. Ethan straightened his tie, confidence swelling in his chest. "Remember what I said," he whispered to Lena as they stepped out of the car. "Smile, be polite, don't draw attention." She nodded. Of course. He offered her his arm, then pulled it back when he noticed a group of coworkers approaching. "Ethan," someone called. He stepped forward eagerly, leaving Lena half a step behind. She followed quietly, heels clicking against marble floors that echoed with privilege. Inside, the ballroom glowed. Crystal chandeliers hung overhead, white and gold tables stretched endlessly, and a live jazz band played softly as waiters moved like shadows between guests. Lena took it all in, not with awe, but with awareness. She noticed how smiles didn't always reach people's eyes, how warmth disappeared the moment someone thought they weren't important. Ethan, on the other hand, transformed. His laugh became louder, his posture taller, his words sharper. When a colleague gestured toward Lena and asked, "So, who's this?" Ethan chuckled. "Oh, Lena, she helps me manage things at home, keeps everything running smoothly." A polite laugh followed. Lena's smile stayed in place, but something inside her cracked quietly. She excused herself and moved toward the refreshment table. As she passed a mirror, she caught her reflection. Elegant, composed, and made small by someone who once promised to protect her. The night unfolded like a performance Ethan believed he was starring in. He moved from group to group, exaggerating his role in projects, shaking hands, nodding as if he belonged at the center of every conversation. Lena stayed at the edges, sipping juice, observing. She wasn't angry. She was detached, like someone watching a story she already knew the ending to. A woman with pearl earrings approached her. "Excuse me," she said kindly. "I just wanted to say your necklace is beautiful." Lena smiled softly. "Thank you. It belonged to my mother." The woman's expression softened. "I'm sorry. I'm Grace." Lena. They talked briefly. Grace seemed surprised by Lena's poise, her choice of words. "Are you in real estate too?" Grace asked. Lena laughed gently. "You could say I'm familiar with the industry." Across the room, Ethan was busy impressing a senior partner. "I played a major role in the expansion proposal. My ideas really pushed it forward." The man raised an eyebrow. "Interesting. I thought someone else was advising on that." Ethan waved it off. "I probably contributed more behind the scenes." The man smiled thinly and walked away. Ethan turned and noticed Lena laughing quietly with Grace. Something twisted inside him. He crossed the room and placed a hand on Lena's shoulder. "Sweetheart," he said loudly, "can you grab me another drink?" Her smile faded for just a second. "Of course." As she walked away, one woman whispered, "She's very graceful. Is she really his maid?" Ethan laughed awkwardly. "She just helps around the house." When Lena returned with the drink, she overheard the last words. She placed the glass down gently. "Here you go," she said, her voice calm but colder than before. Ethan looked up, startled by the distance he suddenly felt. Dinner was served. Laughter grew louder. Ethan laughed the loudest. "You'd think you own the place," someone joked. "Maybe one day," Ethan replied, confidently. Lena's eyes drifted toward the stage. The room shifted. The CEO had arrived. The entire room seemed to straighten itself when Mr. Harrington entered. Tall, silver-haired, and effortlessly commanding, he didn't need to announce himself. Conversation softened, laughter lowered. Even the music seemed to step aside for his presence. Ethan nearly tripped over his own chair, rushing forward. "Mr. Harrington," he said breathlessly, extending his hand. "An honor, sir." Harrington smiled politely. "Good evening, Ethan." Then his gaze shifted. It landed on Lena. For just a second, something passed between them. Recognition, respect, history. He gave her a small nod. Lena returned it, equally composed. "Enjoy the evening," Harrington said, before moving on. Ethan exhaled sharply, thrilled. "Did you see that?" he whispered to Lena. "He spoke to me. That's what I'm talking about. Moments like that change careers." She said nothing. Music swelled again. Couples began to dance. Ethan asked a coworker's wife instead of Lena, laughing it off. "She's shy." Lena stood by the balcony, looking out at the city lights. Once, Ethan had held her hand at bus stops, unconcerned with who watched. Now he chased approval like oxygen. When she turned back toward the room, she noticed Harrington watching her from across the hall. He smiled faintly. An assistant leaned in and whispered something to him. "She's here." Harrington nodded. "Good." Ethan remained oblivious. As the night deepened, whispers followed Lena. "That's her. The one he called his maid? Strange. She carries herself better than most people here." Nearby, Ethan tried again to impress the same senior partner. "I'm ready for bigger responsibilities," he said. "I've proven my loyalty." The man leaned back. "Loyalty is good. Humility is better." Ethan forced a smile. Grace reappeared beside Lena. "You really do seem familiar," she said slowly. "Have we met before?" Lena smiled politely. "Perhaps you've read my work." Grace froze. "Wait, Lena Morales?" Lena inclined her head slightly. "I used to go by that name." Before Grace could respond, the room fell into complete silence. Mr. Harrington had stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice commanding the hall, "thank you for being here tonight." Ethan clapped enthusiastically, certain this was leading to an award announcement. "Before we begin, I want to acknowledge someone whose vision and integrity helped shape our firm's future." Ethan leaned forward, smiling. "Our international partnership exists because of her insight. Tonight's host and my goddaughter," Ethan's hands froze mid-clap, "Lena Morales Harrington." The room gasped. Heads turned. Lena rose calmly from her seat. Ethan's face drained of color. She walked toward the stage, her steps steady, her presence commanding. Chandeliers reflected off her dress as if they were bowing. On stage, she accepted the microphone. "Thank you, Uncle," she said softly. "I'm honored to stand here tonight." Her eyes scanned the crowd, not searching, not accusing. "True leadership," she continued, "isn't loud. It's rooted in dignity, humility, and respect." Applause thundered. Ethan sat frozen. The woman he introduced as his maid was hosting the gala, and his life, as he knew it, was over. Ethan couldn't move. Even as the applause roared through the ballroom, his body remained locked in the chair, as if the velvet cushion had turned to stone. His eyes stayed glued to the stage, where Lena stood, calm, radiant, completely untouchable. The same woman who folded his clothes, who listened to his complaints, who he had reduced to nothing with a smile. Around him, the room buzzed differently now. "That's his wife." "No, he said she was his—" The sentence died before it could finish. A coworker leaned toward Ethan, laughing in disbelief. "Man, you really messed this up." Ethan didn't answer. His mouth felt dry, his tongue useless. On stage, Mr. Harrington stepped aside, letting Lena take center space, not as a guest, but as authority. "The strongest pillars," Lena said, her voice steady, "are often the ones no one notices." Her eyes moved across the crowd. Not hunting, not begging, just present. If tonight reminds anyone that dignity isn't tied to titles or introductions, then I'm grateful. The applause returned, quieter this time, uncomfortable. Ethan heard his own words echo in his head. She helps around the house. Each repetition hit harder. When Lena stepped down from the stage, guests surged toward her. Compliments, admiration, eager hands. Ethan watched her navigate them with grace. Then she walked past him, close enough that he caught the faint scent of her perfume. She didn't look at him. That hurt more than any insult. "Your wife is something else," someone muttered nearby. Ethan finally stood, legs unsteady, scanning the room desperately. He found Lena near Mr. Harrington, speaking with investors. He pushed forward. "Lena," he said quietly, "can we talk?" She turned, her expression neutral. "Ethan." No warmth, no anger, just distance. Mr. Harrington's gaze sharpened. "I didn't know," Ethan blurted. "I didn't know she was important," Harrington supplied coolly. Ethan froze. Lena spoke gently. "Uncle, give us a moment." Harrington hesitated, then nodded. 2 minutes. They stood alone in a pocket of cold air. "Why didn't you tell me?" Ethan whispered. Lena met his eyes. "Why didn't you ask?" His throat tightened. "I love you," he desperately said. "Love without respect becomes permission," she replied calmly. "I was under pressure," he pleaded. "I wanted to impress them." "You humiliated me easily," Lena said softly. "That's what hurts." Tears filled his eyes. "I'm sorry." "This isn't the place for a scene," she said. "You wanted respect in this room, remember? Then behave like it." He nodded, broken. "What do I do?" "You leave early. Not as punishment, as protection. Are you coming with me?" "No." The word landed like a verdict. "We'll talk at home," she added. She stepped away, instantly becoming host Lena again, professional, graceful, unreachable. Ethan stood there, invisible. For the first time in his life, he knew exactly what it felt like to be made small. Ethan drove home alone. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. City lights blurred through the windshield, not because the road was unclear, but because his eyes burned and he refused to wipe them. He wanted to feel it. At the apartment, he couldn't sit. He paced in his tuxedo, tie loosened, jacket tossed on the couch like a defeated flag. Lena's words replayed over and over. "Why didn't you ask?" An hour later, the door opened. Lena stepped inside quietly, heels in her hand. She didn't rush, she didn't slam the door. She moved like someone who refused to carry chaos that wasn't hers. "Lena," Ethan started. She raised a hand. "Not yet." He froze. She placed her heels by the wall, her clutch on the table, then turned to him. "You want to know why I didn't tell you who I was?" she asked. "Yes," he whispered. "Please." "Then listen," she said. "No defending, no interrupting." He nodded. "Before I met you," Lena began, "I had another life." Ethan stared. "I studied international property law. I worked with firms overseas, not to prove anything, but because I loved the work." His mouth fell open. "My mother got sick, very sick. I came home. I left everything to care for her." Ethan's chest tightened. "For 2 years, my world was hospitals and grief. When she died, I felt empty." He had known her mother died. He had never asked what it did to her. "After that," she continued, "my uncle offered help, opportunities. I wasn't ready. I wanted a quiet life." Her eyes met his. "That's when I met you." "At the community center," Ethan whispered. She nodded. "You were kind then. You listened. You asked real questions." Tears streamed down his face. "When we married," Lena said, "I didn't mention my past because I wanted love, not status." Ethan's voice cracked. "So you
tested me. You observed me, she corrected gently. He nodded. And I failed. Yes. Ethan covered his face. You assumed my quiet meant emptiness. That's the deepest wound. I was insecure, he whispered. So you made me smaller instead, she replied. Silence swallowed the room. Are you leaving me? Ethan asked. I don't know, Lena said honestly. Not tonight. She turned toward the hallway. One more thing, she added. I didn't expect cruelty from you. That's what I'm still processing. She closed the bedroom door softly. Ethan stayed on the couch, alone with his shame.
Ethan woke to silence. Not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind that pressed against his chest. Sunlight filtered through the curtains like nothing had happened, like the world hadn't cracked open the night before. He sat up slowly. Then he remembered everything. The stage, the applause, the way Lena looked through him like he wasn't there. He walked down the hallway and stopped in front of the guest room door. "Lena," he called softly. No answer. In the kitchen, the kettle was still warm. A mug sat on the counter. She'd been up. She just hadn't included him. His phone buzzed. Messages flooded in. "That was wild last night. Hope you're okay. Mr. Harrington wants a departmental meeting on Monday." His stomach twisted. Ethan typed a message with shaking fingers. "Can we talk when you're ready? I'm here." No reply. An hour passed, then another. Finally, Lena emerged from the hallway, dressed simply, white blouse, dark trousers, hair pulled back. She didn't look like a host. She didn't look like a maid. She looked like herself. "Good morning," Ethan said quickly. "Morning," she replied, pouring coffee without looking at him. "I can drive you," he offered. "No." The words shut the door gently, but firmly. "Lena, please," he said. "I want to fix this." She set her cup down. "I'm not punishing you," she said calmly. "I'm protecting my peace." His throat tightened. "I can change." "Then change," she replied. "Don't perform." She picked up her keys. "Are you leaving me?" she said. "I'm leaving this conversation for now." Before opening the door, she turned back once. "And don't try to fix your image. That's what broke us." Then she was gone. Ethan stood alone, the apartment suddenly too quiet. For the first time, he didn't reach for excuses. He searched for a therapist and booked the first appointment. Therapy wasn't dramatic. It was uncomfortable. Ethan sat across from Dr. Miller, a woman who didn't let him hide behind polished explanations. Within minutes, she dismantled every excuse he tried to build. "Why did you introduce your wife as your maid?" she asked calmly. Ethan stared at the floor. "Because I didn't want them to judge me." "So you offered her instead," Dr. Miller said gently. "Why?" His voice dropped. "Because it felt safer." "For whom?" "For me." She leaned forward. "When did you learn that safety comes from making someone else smaller?" The question followed him home like a shadow. At work, things were worse. Not anger, politeness. People spoke to him carefully, professionally, like a man who had revealed something unpleasant about himself. No one rushed to defend him. He deserved that. One evening, rain poured heavily as Ethan left the office. He spotted Lena in the lobby, waiting for a driver. "Your ride is stuck," she said neutrally. "Can I take you?" he asked, forcing himself not to perform. She studied him, then nodded once. "Okay." They drove in silence. "I'm learning things," Ethan said quietly. "Good," Lena replied. He swallowed. "I learned I've been making people smaller my whole life." She finally looked him. "And what will you do with that?" "Sit with it," he said, "not defend it." She turned back to the window. "That's new."
At the apartment, she paused before getting out. "Don't confuse progress with completion," she said, "but keep going." Then she left him in the car, crying quietly, for the first time without self-pity.
The next weeks stripped Ethan down. Therapy became routine, not inspiring, necessary. He stopped skipping sessions when work got busy. He wrote in a notebook, not quotes, but truths. I confuse visibility with value. I used Lena like a shield. I panic when I feel small. Dr. Miller told him to volunteer weekly, not for image, but to practice seeing people without ranking them. Ethan chose a shelter near the community center where he'd first met Lena. On his first day, a woman handed him gloves. "Bathrooms," she said. "If you're too important, say so now." His face burned. "I'll do it," he replied. No praise, no recognition. Just work. At home, Lena kept her distance, not cold, just guarded. She stopped managing his life. No reminders, no emotional cushioning. He noticed how much he'd relied on her quiet labor. One Saturday, he told her about his father. He said, "Poor men must act rich to be respected." "And you believed him?" she asked. "I built my personality around it," Ethan admitted. "I wanted worship." "Worship makes people cruel," Lena said calmly. Later, a neighbor complimented Lena in the hallway. Ethan felt the old urge to interrupt, to reclaim attention. He stayed silent. That night, he stared into the mirror and whispered, "I'm sorry." The mirror didn't answer. Change didn't arrive with announcements. It arrived in small, bruising choices. Ethan stopped correcting people at work just to sound important. He credited teammates, even when it made him invisible. He listened without planning his response. At home, he stopped asking Lena how she felt about his guilt. He stopped seeking reassurance. He carried his discomfort alone. One evening, Lena placed a folder on the table. "Uncle Harrington wants me to lead a mentorship program," she said. Ethan nodded slowly. "That's incredible." She studied him. "You don't sound threatened." "I am," he admitted quietly, "but I'm learning not to turn fear into control." Something softened in her eyes, not forgiveness, but recognition. "That's growth," she said. Weeks later, Lena spoke at a professional ethics event. Ethan attended silently, sitting at the back. No introductions, no claiming connection. When it ended, he left a note at the desk instead of approaching her. "I'm not trying to win you back. I'm trying to become someone worthy of love." That night, Lena held the note for a long time. She didn't smile, but she didn't throw it away. The cafe Lena chose was small and ordinary. No chandeliers, no performance, just sunlight, quiet music, and space to speak honestly. Ethan arrived early, not to impress, but because he didn't want her waiting. When Lena walked in, he stood instinctively. "You don't have to do that," she said gently. He sat back down. "I'm here for clarity," Lena said as she ordered tea. "So am I," replied Ethan. He didn't defend himself. "I humiliated you because I wanted to feel big. That's the truth." Lena watched him carefully. "And why did you need to feel big?" "Because I felt small my whole life, and instead of healing that, I built a mask." "And the mask made you cruel?" "Yes." "What's different now?" she asked. "I notice the instinct," he said, "and I don't obey it." She leaned back slightly. "And what do you want from me?" Ethan swallowed. "The chance to rebuild, slowly, with boundaries." Lena nodded once. "I'm open to rebuilding trust," she said, "but not the old marriage." "I understand." "This isn't forgiveness," she added. "It's process." "I won't rush it," he promised. They talked, not romantically,
but truthfully. When they left, Ethan didn't reach for her hand. He walked beside her instead. Months later, Harrington Group hosted another black tie gala. This time, Lena Morales Harrington was listed clearly on the program, host and keynote speaker. The ballroom looked the same, crystal lights, polished smiles, expensive perfume, but Ethan felt different. He wasn't hunting attention. He wasn't afraid of being invisible. He sat quietly among the guests, dressed simply, posture calm. When Lena stepped onto the stage, the room shifted toward her like gravity. She spoke with steady authority about ethics, dignity, and the quiet harm people justify in the name of ambition. She didn't mention Ethan. She didn't need to. Her dignity required no proof. Ethan watched her with a feeling he had never known before, pride without ownership. When the applause rose, he clapped too. Not loudly, not to be seen, just honestly. Later, as the evening settled, Ethan didn't feel the old panic of being overlooked. He felt peace, because he finally understood something simple and permanent. Respect isn't demanded from a room. It's practiced with the person closest to you, especially when no one is watching.